In places, Beeston is an ethnic enclave. It's close to the Leeds city center and university areas, but used to be an industrial area, making property prices cheap for an influx of immigrants. Mohammed Sadiq Khan, ringleader of one of the worst terror attacks in British history, was from here, specifically from Lee's home, born to a first-generation Pakistani immigrant father. I think the scariest thing about him, and about everybody in the group, is that none of them fit the image of a terrorist, or at least of the terrorist that was propagated during the War on Terror. They were university students, they were upstanding members of the community. Khan himself was a teacher and a volunteer at a local youth center. And on July 7th, 2005, he detonated a suicide bomb on Edgware Road in London, killing himself and 6 others. The Home Office dismissed his involvement with Al Qaeda in spite of a taped statement issued from al-Qaeda sources through Al Jazeera, and in spite of others in the Leeds terror cell traveling to Pakistan to train with other terror groups abroad in close proximity to al-Qaeda training camps.
This evening, the Arab television station Al Jazeera was sent a verbal suicide message from him, a tape. We do not know whether it was made days or even months before the attacks, but the message is chilling.
Your democratically elected governments continuously perpetuate atrocities against my people all over the world, and your support of them makes you directly responsible, just as I am directly responsible for protecting and avenging my Muslim brothers and sisters.
The very last thing I want to do is paint the Muslim community in Leeds in a bad light. The community actually warned British authorities many times, but the British turned them away, likely because they were afraid to be seen investigating. It was in this atmosphere that Khan got to work at the Stratford Street Mosque. He began preaching a radical form of Salafism to his fellow mosque-goers, but was told to stop by the members of the mosque. He had already hooked two, Hasib Hussein, described as a gentle giant, a college student in good standing, and a member of several school clubs, and Shahzad Tanweer, who was also a college student in Leeds. Tanweer lived at Colwyn Road in Beeston, just south of the Hamara Youth Access Point where they trained and the mosque where they studied. Tanweer and Khan traveled to Snowdonia, possibly to train in the woods. Police have said that they found evidence of another group of Asian men with them, but never investigated this lead any further. I was told by locals in the Conwy Valley near Snowdonia that they often have problems with suspicious groups of men they believe are coming from Leeds, Liverpool, and Manchester, dressed in camo, carrying airsoft, and acting very strangely. Whenever they're approached, they run off. Some were also seen riding around in a van asking for directions to MOD Capel Curig, holding a map of the base and inquiring about security measures, how many men are on the gates. It's clear that Khan hooked in Tanweer, who quickly became the driving factors. These two men were responsible for most of the radicalization, although Jermaine Lindsay is a whole different story that I'll get into later. Tanweer's friends described him as a political moderate, but his family in Pakistan said that when he visited, he was enamored with Osama bin Laden and spoke of dying as a mujahideen. In fact, when he did die in these explosions, he was buried at the shrine of a holy martyr in Pakistan. He visited from November 2004 to late February 2005 and flew back connecting through Saudi Arabia. This journey was made with Sadiq Khan, the ringleader of the 7/7 attacks. While in Pakistan, he visited an Islamic school. Pakistani sources say that the school was connected to the banned jihadist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, although Britain denies this. It's also said that he met with a representative of another group, Jaish-e-Muhammad, but this is also denied. The official narrative, and the one that they're sticking with, is that these were lone wolf attacks. Once kicked out of the mosque, they met in the Hamara Youth Access Point. This is a community outreach centered around the immigrant population in Leeds, where teens can drop in and read, watch TV, or relax. Overall, it's a very good program. I don't have any problem with it. I don't think anybody has any problem with it. But Sadiq Khan saw its use and saw the possibility of radicalization. Here is where they trained in the basement, at what locals told the police they referred to as the Al-Qaeda gym. Most of the locals who frequented this area knew of their presence, and many of them went to the police, but the police never investigated. Hamara Youth Access Point receives government loans to operate and was raided in the aftermath of the bombing. It's still right down the road from the mosque, but is mostly boarded up these days. Keep in mind that these were all young men and very capable of going out in the woods and training. It seems that they must have gotten some training in the woods while cycling back and forth between Hamara Youth Access, radicalizing possibly other people in the community, and also going to a local area called the Al-Iqra bookstore, which locals also referred to as the Al-Qaeda bookstore. In any case, time was very fast approaching for these men to convene on different cars and trains and head into downtown London, where they all planned to detonate suicide bombs simultaneously.
Breaking news we're getting from the PA Newswire that there's been reports of an explosion outside Liverpool Street Station. That, of course, in the East End of London. It's the bordering area. You'll be maybe familiar with the Swiss building known as the Gherkin, which, of course, has been a familiar landmark throughout London for the past sort of couple of years or so. That's very close to Liverpool Street Station. They're getting this reports of an explosion from the British Transport Police.
Tanweer's attack killed himself and 7 others. His remains were flown to Pakistan and buried next to the shrine of a local Islamic saint. Khan, the ringleader, killed 6 people. His remains, along with Jermaine Lindsay's, they couldn't locate. Lindsay killed 26. Hasab Hussein is the saddest story of them all. He is now buried in Leeds, and while the other 3 detonated on time, it seems like he may have removed the batteries from his bomb and tried to pretend like nothing was happening, buying McDonald's breakfast and walking around for a little while. He tried to call the other bombers, but the calls didn't go through, so he bought a battery and boarded a bus which was diverted. He detonated in this bus and killed 13 himself. He was the youngest at age 18. You may notice that up until now I've talked about 3 of the bombers in detail, but Jermaine Lindsay is the odd man out. He lived a good distance away from Leeds and didn't go to the same mosque as the other 3. The real insidious facts here surround his widow, Samantha Luthwaite. After Jermaine killed himself, she played up her image as a grieving widow and suffered an arson attack. At least that's what the police say, but I'd venture to guess that she did it herself because of what follows. First, she issued a serious statement including, quote, "I totally condemn and am horrified by the atrocities," and the classic, quote, "My whole world has fallen apart and my thoughts are with the families of the victims of this incomprehensible devastation." The British government paid for her move to a safe house where she dropped off the radar completely. She's since found her way to Kenya and been responsible for the deaths of over 400 people, including during the Nairobi Mall attack. She was a member of Al-Shabaab at the time and has been cited all over Africa, particularly in East Africa. All of this because of police oversight.
In the distance, the steeple is Amara Youth Access Point.